City resiliency is an important topic for Boston, and I think as we recognize the vulnerability that coastal cities have and the impacts on New York from Superstorm Sandy are a shining example for everybody. We're looking at that as well here in Boston, but know for sure we're not retreating from the waterfront. It is an excellent place to grow. Cities are an excellent place to grow. We certainly enjoy the smallest carbon footprint in our urban centers, and it's important to recognize that our future success really does rely on growing cities. The Redevelopment Authority is asking developers to respond to a questionnaire where we're going through a whole host of considerations around climate change preparedness and really looking forward. What we're seeing are some pretty basic practices, smart things like setting floor elevations well above the 100-year floodplain, or when it's a building right at the water's edge, looking at that landscape that's in front of the building, not just to beautify the building and make for a public space, but also to introduce barriers to velocity impacts. So during a storm event, instead of having waves come right at the building, they'll bump into things like landscape elements. But what are some basic strategies around flood proofing? Is your building flood proof? Have you ever conducted a flood drill? A lot of people haven't. And I think rather than get surprised and say, oh my goodness, we didn't really understand we had these vulnerabilities, we're asking people to begin to look at that now and prepare. We're also looking forward, and some of this isn't terribly hard as we look out 50 years and say, well, what if the sea level rose substantially? Are there opportunities to elevate your ground floor? Are there more basic practices like not including or placing important switching gear for electrical systems or other critical building systems in your basement where they'd be more vulnerable to flooding? Can they be situated elsewhere in the building where they're more protected? The resiliency strategies go beyond that. We're certainly looking at how the whole city functions, infrastructure, the provision of water, stormwater, sewage movements, but also the electrical, gas utilities, and critically the transportation utilities. Can people come and go from these areas during periods where services might be interrupted by weather or water or heat?